My best friend has fallen in love with the wealthy sponsor who made her famous and wants to retire from the entertainment industry and get married. However, we girls were just picked out from poor areas by these wealthy sponsors and treated as playthings for investment and grooming. To save my best friend, I exposed the inside story of this grooming at her wedding. My best friend was jilted and scolded me for meddling. I was jointly banned by the wealthy sponsors and sent to accompany an old man. In the end, I was toyed with and died. When I opened my eyes again, I went back to the day when the wealthy sponsors let us choose our respective fields of development. Best friend, I want to enter the entertainment industry. When it was my turn, I firmly said, I want to take the civil service exam. 1 month before the college entrance examination, my best friend, I, and other girls who were also sponsored by wealthy sponsors gathered in a bar. In the huge private room, the cries and screams of women were terrifying. Separated by a thin curtain, vaguely, several men could be seen venting on a woman. They pulled her hair, pinched her neck, and locked her arms behind her back. After more than 10 minutes, several men walked out one after another with satisfied expressions. They piled up smiles and knelt down. After thanking the noble wealthy sponsors sitting on the sofa, they left. Several of us girls huddled together in fright. Oscar, sitting in the middle, sneered, "Have you all seen it? Those who fail in their fields in the future will be used for power and sex transactions. You will take the college entrance examination in 1 month. From now on, you should think carefully about what you want to learn and do. The person with the most successful background sponsor wins. We spend money to train you. You wouldn't bear to see your own sponsor lose, right?" At this time, the thin curtain was lifted. A completely naked woman with disheveled hair crawled out with difficulty. She was bleeding heavily, leaving a bright red blood trail on the floor where she had crawled. Oscar spat at her. "What an unlucky thing. You made me lose so badly. Training you is worse than training a dog. Come, drag her down and serve the next boss." The woman pleaded bitterly, but was still dragged out of the private room like garbage. I secretly clenched my fist. I was angry at my own powerlessness. Some of us girls were frightened and cried. Before this, we all thought we were lucky to be sponsored to go to school, but we didn't know that we had entered their grooming game. "Uncle Oscar, you didn't tell us?" I quickly and quietly told the girl beside me who was about to speak to shut up. 5 hours ago, I was reborn. I remember that in my previous life, this girl asked one more question and was violated and died on the spot. "What didn't I tell you?" Oscar asked in reply. No one dared to make a sound. My best friend Arya, who saw my small action, looked down on me. She boldly stood up and said, "You didn't tell us it would be so exciting." I just like challenging things. Just work hard to reach the top of the chosen industry in the future. It's not a pity for a useless person who can't make it to die. Oscar clapped his hands and said several goods in succession. "In that case, let's all talk about which industry we want to be in the future." Arya spoke up first. "I want to enter the entertainment industry." She took the lead, and other girls also timidly reported their answers. When it was my turn, Arya hinted that I should choose the same as her. In my previous life, I listened to her and also chose the entertainment industry. But this time, I don't want to repeat the same mistakes. I firmly said, "I want to take the civil service exam." Yes, take the civil service exam. This is the way out I can think of that can change my previous life's fate the most. Often, power is more useful than money. In my previous life, I listened to Arya's words. She said that entering the entertainment industry can quickly become famous and earn money. With money, there is nothing that can't be solved. The two of us can exchange contacts and resources with each other. At that time, we can win the double Best Actress awards. Stand at the top of the industry field together. Later, with our outstanding looks and acting skills, we did indeed achieve it. But the wealthy sponsor who groomed us is the same person, Oscar. He said with a perverse taste. In the field of the entertainment industry, only one of Arya and I can be the most successful. In my previous life, Arya was kind for me. She took the initiative to say that she was in love with Oscar and wanted to retire from the entertainment industry and marry him. I was guilty and blamed myself. I didn't want to see her fall into the trap. So I exposed the wealthy sponsors who participated in the grooming game at her wedding. I clearly remember how Arya was furious and scolded me after being jilted. I also clearly remember what those old men said when they toyed with me and insulted me with various props. Only a naive and stupid fool like you believes that, bitch Arya. Don't you think about it? A person from a humble background like her can take you and shine in the entertainment industry, get top resources and become a best actress. What extraordinary means does she have? This can't be achieved just by having good looks and acting skills. She has long had an affair with Oscar. She uses the resources he gave to bring you along, holds you high up, and then throws you down hard. But you are still stupidly grateful to her and foolishly want to save her at the wedding. Little do you know, she is the plaything of those rich kids like Oscar, and you, Ava, are the plaything of her, Arya. When I was only left with one breath after being toyed with by the old man, I was cut off my hands and feet and thrown into the wild to be fed to wild beasts. Before I died, the anger of being betrayed by the person I trusted the most almost burned through me. If I could start over again, I will definitely not care about Arya's life or death anymore. And I will definitely not be a plaything to be slaughtered at will. Our group of girls chose our development fields and returned to school from the bar. Back in the dormitory, Arya poked my forehead with her finger and scolded me. Why are you taking the civil service exam? You're just a bookworm with good looks but nothing else. You're clumsy with words, soft-hearted, introverted and sensitive. You can't even make it in the entertainment industry. Do you still want to enter the political arena? If you stay with me, I can still protect you and you can avoid taking many detours for several years. Now choosing to take the civil service exam. For an ordinary person like you without any background, I'm afraid you won't even be promoted to a deputy position until you're old. Not to mention reaching the forefront of the field. Worse still, you might accidentally say the wrong thing and offend someone one day and end up in prison. You always make me worry for nothing. How did I end up making such a stupid friend like you? Her fingernails were so sharp that they scratched my forehead. In my previous life, Arya was also like this. She always liked to lecture me under the pretext of thinking about me. I trusted her too much and always obeyed her. Presumably, it was my obedience that made her enjoy the same sense of pleasure in controlling others' fates as people like Oscar. So she treated me like a plaything. Why should I listen to you? I said as I reached out and pushed her into a bath bucket full of water. Everyone has the right to choose their own life. You have no right to interfere with others' freedom. As long as I can be responsible for my chosen life in the future. I trusted her too much and always obeyed her. Presumably, it was my obedience that made her enjoy the same sense. The classmates in the dormitory were also looking on, surprised that two people who were usually so close would actually quarrel. Ava, you're crazy. How dare you push me? She was furious and came out of the bucket and rushed at me to fight. You ungrateful thing. Do you think I want to take care of you? It's just that you're so stupid that you're sold and still count the money for others. Fine. From today on, I won't take care of you anymore. I'd like to see what kind of success you can achieve. In the end, Arya and I were called to the office. My relationship with her also broke down because of this. I originally thought that as long as I stayed away from her in this life, there would be many fewer obstacles on my way forward. But Arya still didn't let me go. On the morning of the college entrance examination, she turned off my alarm clock. After all the roommates left, she pretended to wake me up. I hurriedly went to wash up, but she locked me in the bathroom. Ava, I'm doing this for your own good. Arya said righteously outside the door. If you take the college entrance examination, go to college for 4 years, and then study for 3 years in graduate school before taking the civil service exam, this time could have made you famous long ago if you spent it in the entertainment industry. Don't forget that their rule is that if you can't reach the top of the industry before you're 30, you're a failure. Don't go to college. After graduation, come into the entertainment industry with me. Making a debut early is better. I can't let you take a detour. After she finished speaking, she left. I shouted for several minutes but no one came to save me. In a state of despair, I thought of my tragic end in my previous life. Having a new life again, I can't die before achieving anything. I gritted my teeth and stomped my feet. I climbed out of the bathroom window on the 5th floor. Overcoming my fear of heights, I jumped back to the balcony and rushed to the examination room in a race against time. After I finished the first subject, I didn't go to settle scores with Arya immediately. Instead, I seized the time to review without a moment's relaxation. After all the subjects were finished, our class held a farewell party for our teacher. I watched Arya sitting in the middle of the crowd, saying with a smile that she was going to debut as a big star. The classmates all blessed her. I picked up the wine bottle on the table and took several big gulps. Pretending to be drunk and staggering, I went over. In front of the whole class, I beat Arya and sent her to the hospital. The next day, I did some superficial things and bought fruits to visit her. Outside the ward, I saw Oscar holding Arya in his arms, listening patiently to her crying. I think about her everywhere. I'm like a father and a mother. I don't understand why she treats me like this. Don't sponsor her anymore. Ava is an ungrateful person. She won't be grateful. That night, I received a message from Oscar. He canceled my sponsorship for college and asked me to make my own way independently. He also in the name of beauty it as a test for me. It turns out that what Arya said at this time is so influential. In my previous life, I was really blind and foolish. I couldn't see the closer relationship between these two people behind the scenes. Without the sponsorship, I took several part-time jobs during the summer vacation to earn tuition and living expenses. I also applied for national grants. On the day the results came out, it was higher than I expected. I successfully applied for the economic law major of a domestic college. On the day of registration for school, Arya debuted as a girl of a certain famous director. In this life, I am no longer the follower by her side, and I have less interaction with her. I still remember that in my previous life, under Arya's shadow, I seemed to have lived in vain. I did whatever she said and had no opinions of my own. Now I start to focus on myself and improve my abilities. Little by little, I correct the shortcomings on me that are not conducive to my entering the system in the future. The more afraid I am of some things and the less good I am at them, the more I have to do them. I'm not good at words. So I joined the school debate team. I'm introverted and sensitive. So I make many friends. I go to be volunteers, travel, and see the world with them. I'm not very emotionally intelligent. So whenever I have free time, I immerse myself in the library to read books, listen to famous people's speeches, communicate with more people, and think before I speak. As for Arya, she became famous immediately after her debut. Occasionally, I can still see her updates when I'm browsing. It is said that she is the leading actress handpicked by a certain well-known author. As soon as she stands in front of the camera, she is like a red rose that grows wildly through the ruins in a novel. When her first movie was released, there was crazy marketing on the internet about her tragic life story of being from a poor family, with her father in prison, her mother dying of cancer, and her sister missing. During Arya's roadshow, she stubbornly held back her tears. She said that she had used all her strength and exhausted all her luck to stand in front of the audience. As soon as these words came out, countless netizens felt distressed and empathized. Coupled with the fact that her acting skills this time are much better than in her previous life, she was not scolded as harshly as in her previous life. Instead, she became famous overnight because of this. Later, when I was a senior, I applied for postgraduate recommendation with excellent grades and performance. And in order to promote the award-winning movie, Arya donated sanitary napkins to girls in poor mountainous areas with all her film remuneration. Netizens praised her for being beautiful and kind-hearted. When this incident rushed to the hot search, I was also put on the hot search. The reason is that someone revealed that a person like me who receives poverty-stricken student subsidies actually uses a tablet computer worth more than 10,000 yuan. Then someone else revealed that I and Arya were high school classmates. Under the comparison of the two sides, I was cyberbullied. That night, two strange text messages came. Look, I will prove to you that the path you have chosen is wrong. If you drop out of school and enter the entertainment industry now, I can still help you. Just by the tone of these words, I can guess it's Aria. I didn't expect her to be so persistent with me. I replied to the message and tricked her into revealing her identity in the message. Then I took a screenshot of the message content and opened an account and posted it on the internet. I also attached a screenshot of the tablet computer that I won in a school activity lottery. The caption is, "The tablet computer was won in a lottery and has now been resold for living expenses." In addition, Aria is very kind. Knowing that I am in difficulty, she also advised me to enter the entertainment industry and said that being a star makes money quickly. But at present, I still want to focus on my studies. The amount of money is not important. I hope to become a useful person to society and the people in the future. Welcome everyone to supervise. For a while, the dirty water poured on me turned back to Aria. Netizens said that she was using her background to sell miserably. Entering the entertainment industry is not because she has no money to go to college, but to make money. Some of her rivals who don't like her also exposed that there is actually a sugar daddy behind her. This incident caused a huge uproar. When netizens wanted to dig deeper, all the entries about Aria's sugar daddy were completely removed. This also made me realize once again how powerful the group of scumbags like Oscar is. Fortunately, this accident finally did not affect my postgraduate recommendation. I successfully became a graduate student at my own school. The text message and sugar daddy incident caused Aria's reputation to decline. But it didn't prevent her from winning the Best Actress title with the award-winning movie. Some people scolded her as postcoital, a Best Actress title obtained by sleeping with a sugar daddy. Aria didn't care at all. Instead, she even let the paparazzi take pictures of her kissing a man in the underground parking lot, hugging a man on the street, and smoking a cigarette with a man in a bar. Netizens said that she was getting arrogant. Only I know that Aria is testing Oscar's bottom line. At this time period in the previous life, there were also frequent rumors of their relationship, but I didn't believe it. I always thought that Aria was forced. After living again, I found out that everything she did was to marry into a wealthy family. I don't know what means Aria used. But I know that 3 years later, in the summer vacation when I graduated from graduate school, she will marry Oscar as she wishes. This time I won't stop her anymore. I'd like to see what kind of ending the path she chooses will ultimately lead to. Time passed quickly, and in the blink of an eye, 3 years passed. I applied for the civil service examination. After the written test and interview, I was full of confidence. During the time when I was waiting for the political review to pass, I received a text message from Aria again. She invited me to attend her wedding. I refused. After a while, Oscar also contacted me. He asked me to attend their wedding as Aria's bridesmaid. As soon as he opened his mouth, I had to go even if I didn't want to. Seeing how much he values Aria, maybe this is true love. On the wedding day, I wore a bridesmaid dress and stood beside Aria. Looking at me and her reflected in the makeup mirror, I had an illusion of returning to my previous life. At that time, I was also her bridesmaid. Before going on stage, I was still frantically persuading her to run away from the wedding. Are you envious? Aria's voice brought me back to my senses. In just 7 years, I have become very successful in the entertainment industry. Not only did I win the Best Actress title, but I am also about to cross classes. But what about you? You have just barely stepped into the door of the system. I smiled. If it were me who had just been reborn, I would definitely retort mindlessly. But now, I have learned to keep my emotions and thoughts hidden. I am envious. But more importantly, I want to congratulate our big star Aria. Also, don't always worry about me. If you weren't getting married to young Master Oscar today, I would still think that you like me. After all, after so many years, you still haven't forgotten me, a little person. Aria arrogantly laughed and stood up, looking at me and raising her eyebrows as she said, "Have you become smarter after reading some books?" "Ava, don't be complacent in front of me. Do you believe that I have a way to make your political review not pass?" My smile froze. After 2 seconds, I smiled calmly again. "We are in the same boat. If something happens to me and I accidentally say something that is unfavorable to your marriage into a wealthy family, it won't be good, right?" Arya folded her arms and stared at me arrogantly. "Unfavorable things? Do you mean the matter of Oscar and them playing raising games with women?" "Ava, do you still dare to say it? Don't forget that you died a tragic death in your previous life." I was shocked all over, and my smile completely froze on my face. The person in front of me had a few traces of mockery at the corner of her mouth. That provocative gaze undoubtedly told me. Arya she is also reborn. There was a knock on the door outside the dressing room. The wedding staff came to urge the bride to appear. Arya held the hem of her wedding dress and said casually, "I know what your ultimate goal is in taking this civil service examination. You want to bring down Oscar and those people and rescue the thousands of girls who are raised as playthings one batch after another behind them. But if I tell you now, after your death, Oscar and those people were investigated. To protect themselves, they abandoned all the sponsored girls. A large part of those girls are minors. They finally had a chance to go to school, but because of your self-righteousness, they can never get out of the mountains again. Do you know what their evaluation of your sacrifice is? They said, you are a good person, but we don't want to forgive you." I was extremely shocked inside. I have never thought about this problem from such a profound and tricky angle. "How about it?" Arya sneered. "Even if you know that the result after success will be like this, are you still going to do this? Killing people is psychologically damaging. Putting aside the feud of being betrayed by her in the previous life. Arya is really powerful and charming. No wonder only she can handle Oscar among so many girls." There was another knock on the door. The person in charge urged urgently. Arya turned around to open the door and did not forget to say, "So, Ava, don't ruin my wedding anymore and don't interfere with Oscar and those people's affairs anymore. If you don't have extraordinary means, don't have a compassionate heart. In either the previous life or this life, you are not the one to be the savior." Arya's words shook the belief that I had been adhering to all along. From the very beginning, my taking this civil service examination is not only to take care of myself but also to help the world. I have always known that what I am facing is a long and difficult battle. Those beasts like Oscar will pick a new batch of girls to cultivate every year. Replace the batch of girls who are still failures when they are nearly 30. This means that every year, there will be girls who experience the tragic experience of my previous life. That kind of feeling is not good. If I could do it all over again, I would rather never have received their sponsorship. But I didn't think about it. Do other girls have the same thoughts as me? With an uncertain answer in mind, I fulfilled my duty as a bridesmaid. When the bride and groom went to toast, I made an excuse to go to the bathroom. After using the toilet, I heard a girl's pleading voice coming from outside the door. I carefully opened the compartment door a little and saw a shocking scene. The disheveled girl was kneeling on the ground and kowtowing continuously. And the lofty man is one of the rich sponsors who are on good terms with Oscar. He was full of contempt and disgust. "Your appearance and strength are not as good as Arya's. You chose the entertainment industry back then. Now 7 years have passed and you are still a small supporting role. What's the use of a useless person like you?" The girl knocked until her forehead bled. "Please, there are still 5 years. I still have 5 years. Give me another chance. Even if you were given another 10 years, you still can't catch up." Now Arya has become a phoenix on a high branch. No matter how hard you try in the same field, you will lose. Why don't you go out and sell yourself more while you are still young and accompany several bosses to help me exchange some resources? It can also be regarded as repaying my sponsorship. The girl cried loudly and grabbed his trouser leg and begged bitterly. The man impatiently grabbed her hair and dragged her out. I couldn't bear to watch any more and rushed out of the bathroom. Before I could open my mouth to stop his evil deeds, Aria's curse came first. "Ava, where the hell have you been? Don't you know that the bridesmaid is supposed to serve the bride well today?" She came in hurriedly wearing a toast dress. When she saw the three of us, she was stunned first. Then she said with a straight face, "You have to choose the right person and occasion if you want to play with women, right? I don't want my wedding to cause a murder." The man let go of the girl. "How dare I ruin your and Oscar's wedding, sister-in-law?" He clapped his hands and left. The girl escaped unharmed and squatted on the ground, covering her face and crying. If I had known that such a thing would happen today, I shouldn't have deluded myself into thinking that I could leave the mountains through their sponsorship. What's the difference between avoiding one pit and falling into another? Looking at her embarrassed and helpless appearance, my wavering heart seemed to have an accurate answer. Yes, we play things raised by them. From the very beginning, we entered their game as victims. If we had the right to know such a rule of, if you fail, you will be sent to engage in power and sex transactions at the very beginning, then how many people would be willing to accept their sponsorship? Perhaps there are still some people who are as daring and enterprising as Arya. But there must also be people like me and this girl today who are reluctant to enter the game. In life, not everything can be taken care of perfectly. I just need to do what I think is right without violating the law. I went to help up that girl and said coldly to Arya, "Arya, I will prove to you that the path I choose is the correct one." She folded her arms and laughed. "A stubborn clown. Since you are so unpersuaded, I am too lazy to pull you into the entertainment industry again. Then I'll wait and see. When you die one day, I will go and collect your body." After attending Arya's wedding, a week later, the results of my political review came out. Successfully landed a job. But at this time, I only have 5 years left to reach the top of the industry before I turn 30. This is far from enough. On the road of being a civil servant, one cannot reach a high position until one is in one's 40s. But from the very beginning, I didn't want to reach a high position before I was 30. Instead, I wanted to bring down Oscar and his group before I was 30. Passing the civil service exam and landing a job is my first goal. My second goal is to take advantage of my position to expose Oscar and their human trafficking activities. I only found out before I died in my previous life. It turns out that the girls who were used to complete power and sex transactions would be lucky if they were, and unlucky if they were sold to old bachelors in deep mountains. They had gone through great hardships to walk out of the mountains. In the end, they were sent back to another mountain by those demons. In the first year of starting work, I served as a clerk in the Intermediate People's Court. While working, I kept an eye on the trends in Wutong Village. In my previous life, my old man had mentioned that he wanted to sell me there. After waiting for more than a year, I finally got a case related to Wutong Village. It was a land dispute case. In order to find out the facts, judges need to visit and investigate the village and inspect the scene. I applied to the president of the court and accompanied the judge to handle cases in the countryside. It was this opportunity that allowed me and the judge to rescue a woman who was trafficked to the village. After being rescued, this woman exposed other trafficked women in the village. There were nearly 100 people. Because this incident was so heinous, it not only caused a sensation in the news industry but also attracted the attention of the higher-ups. The big leader gave an order to thoroughly investigate this matter and give an explanation to the public as soon as possible. During that time, I was extremely busy following the judge. Just when we were about to find Oscar and his group, the investigation was stopped. The reason was that someone came forward to confess. I don't know the person who confessed. It is estimated that he was pushed out to take the blame. Or maybe Oscar and those people are smart enough and disdain to do such things themselves. They found an intermediary to help. I tried to guide those women to expose Oscar and them. But they didn't trust me and were also afraid of their past power and sex transactions. In the end, not a single person dared to stand up and say anything. This matter later only sentenced the intermediary and some of his companions. Oscar and his group were still unharmed. But they became much more low-key. They no longer engaged in human trafficking. After the storm passed, I was considered to have made a contribution and had the opportunity for promotion. Before the result was finalized, my colleagues asked me to treat them to a meal. I couldn't decline. At the dinner, I was also coaxed into drinking some wine. Someone called me midway and asked me to move my car, saying that I was blocking them. I took the car keys and went to the parking lot. At a glance, I knew. Oscar is about to deal with me. Drinking and then moving the car. If caught, promotion is directly hopeless. I deliberately stood within the range of the camera and called a substitute driver. Just after making the call, the car that said it was blocked by me made a turn and rushed straight towards me. I would recognize the person sitting in the car even if he were reduced to ashes. That's Oscar. But by now, I am not afraid of him at all. It's not that my position is very high. But I am a key figure who has just made a contribution in a human trafficking case. Before the college entrance examination, I was also sponsored by him. If he dares to touch me at this time, then the police will definitely find him who has had contact with me. My second goal is clever precisely in this point. It not only wants to severely damage him but also make him unable to touch me at all. Oscar's car finally stopped just before it was about to hit me. He called me from inside the car, his tone vicious. I really underestimated you. You have grown wings and actually dare to mess with me? Ava, don't forget that you people have handle on my hands. We can sponsor you, cultivate you, and also destroy you overnight. Yes, all of us playthings have handle in the hands of these financial backers. At the beginning, they took photos and videos of us to threaten us to follow their game rules. I am not afraid of him exposing my photos and videos, but now is not the time to turn against him. I explained in tears. I didn't know that the women in that village were trafficked by them. I just saw that there were only a few years left and was too eager to make contributions and get promoted. I also cried and apologized to him, saying that I definitely wouldn't dare anymore in the future. Whether Oscar believed me or not, he couldn't do anything to me anyway. I was also promoted smoothly later. I entered the standing committee and served as a staff member. But at this time, there are only 2.5 years left before I am 30. Oscar also became more vigilant towards me. He would ask me to use my position to do some things for him through an intermediary. After success, he would give me a large amount of cash. He wants to smear me so that he can use it to threaten me in the future. With his interference, I am having a difficult time in the workplace. By the time I was 29, I just got promoted one more level. I am far from being successful as defined. Oscar probably has already thought about which man to give me to for power and sex transactions. But he doesn't know. I have already started my third plan. I have long collected evidence of every time he asked me to do things and bribed me through an intermediary. I also found the girls who were cultivated as playthings like me in the same batch back then. I deliberately seek out those who, like me, are not successful. I persuade them to take a bold gamble. I collect their confessions and evidence of being coerced and lured by their benefactors. With all the evidence I have secretly collected over the years, there are 2 large boxes in total. Just when I am about to submit all the evidence to the court, a mysterious fire destroys my house. Along with it, all the evidence inside is burned up. I break down crying and staggeringly try to rush into the fire. Neighbors and firefighters stop me and try to persuade me. I cry heart-wrenchingly, and my voice is hoarse from shouting. They don't understand why I am so grief-stricken. They say that nothing is more important than life and persuade me to look on the bright side. But the things inside are more important than my life. That is my decades of effort. It is the painstaking work I have exchanged for every sleepless night when I dare not relax. It is also the hope that those oppressed girls have placed in me. Finally, the fire is extinguished and all the evidence is gone. I sit dejectedly in the charred room, looking at the ashes of paper on the ground. I numbly pick up the ashes and then let them scatter through my fingers like my shattered hope. At this moment, mocking laughter comes from behind. It's from Arya and Oscar. I turn around, looking disheveled. Oscar intimately puts his arm around Arya's waist and says admiringly and thankfully, "Still, wife, you know her well enough." Giving her hope first and then making her despair at the last moment. This move is really good. Thanks to you for reminding me. I didn't expect this bitch to be so bold as to secretly collect evidence. I am red-eyed with anger. Arya. On the day of your wedding, we agreed that we would not interfere with each other from now on. She looks at me as if looking at a fool. You believe me just because I said so? I just wanted to lower your guard. Knowing that you want to deal with my husband, would I be indifferent? Are you stupid? At that time, I thought that a little ant like you couldn't make a big deal. I thought I'd let you fend for yourself. Who knew that you would dare to step on him and almost get him investigated? You were the one who wanted to destroy my hard-won happiness first. What's wrong with me using some means to deal with you? I grit my teeth. I trusted you so much, and you betrayed me again. Arya's expression seems not to understand what "betray again" means. Even though she was also reborn once. But she doesn't know what I learned from the old man on my deathbed in my previous life about her treating me as a plaything. Oscar is impatient to watch me and Arya argue. He comes up and grabs my hair. With a ferocious face, he says, "You bitch. At this time, you still want to play the emotional card. Arya is not a girl as brainless as you. You want to save those women, punish evil and promote good, and be a just messenger, right? I won't let you get your way." He throws me away and kicks me in the stomach. I am distorted with pain and curl up on the ground, covering my stomach. Oscar says, "After I go back, I will stop this nurturing game. We won't spend money to sponsor those minors anymore. As for those adults, whether they are about to succeed or fail, I will arrange them all to nightclubs. I will tell them that if they want to blame someone, blame you, this self-righteous fool who wants to save them. Anyway, I have been playing this nurturing game for so many years. I have got almost everything I want from those guys. I am also tired of playing. I have Arya now. It's time for me to settle down and live a good life with her. As for you," he smiles cunningly, "I will report you for abusing power for personal gain, destroy all your efforts over the years, and then make you bear unjust accusations and charges." Oscar takes out another mobile phone and makes a call. "Rascal, take the evidence of Ava's bribery that you collected and report it to the Discipline Inspection Department." Rascal is the middleman he called to be responsible for bribing. After Oscar hangs up the phone, he says confidently, "Ava, you can't beat us rich kids. I want to destroy you as easily as killing an ant." I get up from the ground and stand by the burned windowsill. Out of the corner of my eye, I see a group of people coming downstairs. My dejected state disappears in an instant. I smile meaningfully. Really? Not necessarily. In half a minute, those uncles in hats downstairs rush in. Oscar is completely confused. The team leader takes out handcuffs and snaps them on Oscar's wrist. He hesitates, is shocked, and resists. "You've got the wrong person. It's Ava who took bribes." The team leader takes out his mobile phone and compares the information. He says, "We haven't got the wrong person. Oscar, the only son of the Oscar family group. Someone reported that you are engaged in espionage activities. Now you are suspected of endangering national security. Please come with us." Oscar is puzzled and at a loss. Spy? What spy? I haven't done it. I am a law-abiding citizen. If you don't believe me, you can ask my wife. Wife, Arya, please explain it clearly to them. Only then does Arya, who has been like an outsider since just now, make a move. But instead of going to explain, she slowly walks to my side and stands with me. She lifts her hand and brushes aside her smooth long hair in front of her shoulder. Calmly, she says, "That's right. Oscar is indeed suspected of engaging in espionage activities. I, Arya, am the informant." I can see with the naked eye that Oscar's face instantly turns pale. Speaking of my alliance with Arya, that was already on the day of her wedding 4 years ago, after I chose to continue on the path of being a civil servant. She then said that she could join me in dealing with people like Oscar. She also took the initiative to tell me her purpose of getting close to Oscar. It turned out that her missing sister was finally killed by Oscar. She had been seeking revenge from the very beginning. She wanted Oscar to fall in love with her and be used by her. But after I died in my previous life, she was in a hurry to take revenge on Oscar and was accidentally killed by him instead. In this life, after my attitude changed drastically, she guessed that I was also reborn. She also guessed what I was trying to do by taking the civil service exam. When I was taking the college entrance examination and being recommended for postgraduate studies, she intervened to stop me because she wanted me to back off in the face of difficulties. Because in my previous life, I sacrificed myself to expose Oscar and them. However, their power was too strong, and in the end, none of them were caught. On the contrary, those girls who were abandoned from being funded began to resent me. She thought that things that were not worth the effort were unnecessary to do. It would be better to enter the entertainment industry with her. But from the day of the wedding, Arya saw my determination. So we formed an alliance. And there was this spy act today. We have learned the lessons of our previous lives. Ordinary collection of evidence and exposure of Oscar cannot bring them down. It will be suppressed by them through connections. But if engaged in espionage activities, then the country will definitely investigate thoroughly. At that time, those things they did will have nowhere to hide. Oscar was taken away by the police. Before leaving, he kept asking Arya why she treated him like this. It seems that in this life, he is even more deeply involved with Arya than in the previous life. This woman is really dangerous and charming. Since Arya and I are participants, we were also called in for questioning. When I was bribed by Oscar's middleman Rascal for the first time, I reported it. And I told about Oscar behind Rascal. But to arrest people, we need evidence. We don't have evidence that the two of them have contacted each other. So my third step plan. On the surface, it seems that I am going to submit 2 large boxes of evidence to the court. In fact, it is to let the line out longer to catch a big fish. Lure Oscar to show up and let him contact Rascal. And Arya is responsible for conveying false information to Oscar. Giving bad advice and letting him burn my house. And then saying that she suspects that her husband is a spy. If he fails to steal confidential documents from me, a national civil servant, he burns my house. Now everything in my house has been burned. Even if he wants to explain, he can't explain clearly why he burned it. And what was burned. So he can only accept the investigation. Later, when the spy matter was not found out, on the contrary, a bunch of illegal and criminal acts committed by Oscar of raising playthings in the name of funding and engaging in power and sex transactions were found. Once he was arrested, those girls in Wutong village who were once trafficked and dared not speak out dared to stand up. They told how they were deceived. They only accepted funding, but never thought that they would have to give up their future destinies. The matter of human trafficking in Wutong village was a hot topic in previous years. Now that it reappears, the heat remains unabated. Slowly, more and more girls also bravely stood up. The rich sponsors who played the raising game with Oscar were arrested one after another. Netizens were shocked. There are actually so many innocent girls involved behind this. Netizens were indignant and demanded a severe sentence. In the end, Oscar was sentenced to life imprisonment. The rest of the rich sponsors were also sentenced to 20 or 30 years. After this matter was completely over, on my 30th birthday, I was promoted again. Now I am the deputy director. This can also be regarded as a small success achieved before the age of 30 in a disguised form. Oscar, this stepping stone, is really useful. I originally wanted to visit him in prison. To stimulate him. But before I could apply for a visit, I heard that he had committed suicide. No one knows why Oscar died. Until Arya and I made an appointment to meet. She said she was pregnant with his child. She went to see Oscar and said that only one of the child and him could live. Let him choose. Oscar chose to let the child live. But later I still aborted his child. Arya took a sip of coffee, looking indifferent. If I were to give birth to the child of the enemy who killed my sister, it would be better to kill me. I silently gave her a thumbs up in my heart. This kind of woman, who knows how to endure and lie in wait and is brave and resourceful. No wonder in the previous life she could bring me along in the chaotic entertainment industry. Although in the end she just regarded me as her plaything. There's something I want to ask you. Arya put down her coffee and looked at me. What? What did you mean when you said that I betrayed you again on the day Oscar was arrested? I told her what the old man said to me before I died in my previous life. Saying that she just regarded me as a plaything. Arya, after hearing this, one was so angry that one laughed. Arya was so angry that she laughed after hearing it. No wonder I said that when you were reborn, you looked as if you had a deep hatred for me. In my last life, I brought you into the entertainment industry, protected you, gave you resources and taught you acting. We also won the Best Actress award together just because you are my good friend. I wanted to be nice to you. It's as simple as that. Although I'm not easy to get along with, I'm not like those despicable people like Oscar. I don't have the hobby of treating people as playthings. As soon as the misunderstandings connecting the two lifetimes were resolved, my heart was instantly clear. In fact, it was because I was too naive and stupid in my previous life. If it were me now, with a little thought, I should know. A person like Arya with a character like the big female lead in a rebirth revenge novel would disdain to do such despicable and shameless things. Arya sighed in relief. Let's not talk about this anymore. It's all in the past. Anyway, I've never treated you as a plaything. Let's talk about founding a girls' school instead. Arya told me this on the day we formed an alliance. If we succeed in overthrowing Oscar, then she will use his money to found a girls' school. Take in those underage girls who are abandoned by their sponsors and can't afford to go to school. She said, in this way, they won't be unable to go to school or get out of the mountains because they have lost financial support. I can have less resentment towards you. At least I don't have to say those words that I will never forgive you like in my last life. This is originally something caused by Oscar and them doing evil. It shouldn't be blamed on you. So I can spend his money to deal with it with a clear conscience. It was these words she said. That made me choose to trust her again without hesitation. In the coffee shop, I suddenly came to my senses from the past. Arya opposite was searching on her mobile phone. While asking me where the girls' school should be opened and which teachers should be invited to teach. The relaxation in her words and the brightness in her expression gave me the feeling of a rose that has shed its thorns after taking revenge. At this moment, she is extremely glorious in my eyes. I also took out my mobile phone. Show her the plan for establishing a girls' school that I had made a long time ago. Since she said she would form an alliance with me, I knew we would definitely do it. Because whether it's in my last life or this life, I can feel a unique drive and strength of women in her.